Namaste everyone. Say the prayer. हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में हमारा आत्मविकास समाया हुआ है। त्वयि में सर्वं मो 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 आत्मनि में त्वं मो 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 स्मारे स्मारे ओम ओम चित्तं शामय शामय ओम स्मराणि सोऽहं ओम ओम शान्तं चिन्मयम् ओम माम् ओम तटस्थं केवलम् ओम ओम स्मराणि शुद्धम् ओम माम् ओम So last time we did Sutra 18, in which we saw certain unusual thing. Now the continuation of Siddhi will be there. So now we will be today doing two sutras, Sutra 19 and Sutra 20. So Sutra 19 is another kind of Siddhi. Now all the Siddhis are as a result of the Sanyama, the superior technique of concentration, the highest concentration. Wherever it is applied, we saw that this Sanyama technique is like a big searchlight. It's like a big searchlight. So wherever that light will be thrown from the searchlight, that area will be illuminated and it will become known to the yogi's mind. So different things are there. And in a way, these siddhis, the list of siddhis, they are representing some of the deepest cravings we have since our birth. Deepest cravings, deepest secret desires. We may have wishful thinking in our childhood. So somewhere these siddhis you will find are connected to our deepest desires also. So maybe Patanjali has selected a few objects on which the sanyama is to be done to be able to acquire some unusual powers. So now today's sutra is again talking about some unusual power, that is reading the mind of the other person. So this reading the mind of the other person is also known as thought reading, mind reading, telepathy, various kinds of, lots of research has been done by scientists, by biologists all over the world on telepathy. It is part of the parascience, it is part of the parapsychology. So research has been done, and like so many other things of this kind, they cannot be laboratorically or clinically proved. But whatever results they have got, those results have been very, very promising. So they say that telepathy does exist, and our experience also tells us that telepathy exists. If we think deeply about it, if we are, sometimes reflective and we pay attention to certain experiences, then we will know that it is truth. But then, again, it is a debatable thing. But we'll try to understand it, possibly by as much logic as possible at our command. We cannot claim that everything will be proven logically, but some of the indications are there how these siddhis are working. So that we will discuss. Now, Sutra 19 reads, Pratyayasya Parachitta Jnanam. What does it mean? It means by practicing Sanyama on notions, knowledge of the other minds is obtained. प्रत्यय में संयम का अभ्यास करने से परचित्त यानी दूसरे व्यक्ति के चित्त का ज्ञान होता है. That is what is the, and the other sutra, 20th sutra, is also connected to this very idea. And the other sutra, 20th sutra, reads, Nachatat salambanam tasya vishayi bhutatvat. So this sutra is clarifying that although the knowledge of parachitta is acquired, but the basis of that pratyay, which is there in the other person's mind, may not be known to yogi. So there are limitations in what yogi can know. So on one hand, in first sutra, Patanjali is saying pratyasya parachitta jnanam. One can know the mind of the other person. One can read the mind of the other person. But at the same time, what is the content of other person's mind? The basis of that will not be known. Why that person is thinking like that, why that person is having that particular thought in his mind, that will not be known. It cannot be known by yogi. So yogi has got certain limitations there. So these two sutras are going hand in hand. Now, when we look at this idea of this telepathy, as I told you, let us understand the very simple. It is a very simple answer given in the commentary. So what commentary says? We will read that because it's a small comment, so we can read it. That much time is there. But before that, we will let us understand the nature of mind. We have to understand that our minds are like transmitters and like receivers. Radio transmitter and radio receivers. Most of the time, the mind is sending signals and mind is receiving signals. That is what is happening all the time. The communication is taking place. So this transmitter and reception, if these two ideas can be kept in mind, then perhaps we will be able to understand this sutra a little easily. All the time we are sending out communications, all the time we are receiving communications. And it happens that sometimes without even uttering the words, we are able to say what is in other person's mind. That happens. It's an everyday experience. Most of us have experienced that. And particularly when there is a close relationship, where there is a very close kind of relationship, there it happens very often. For example, between husband and wife who have been living together for a very, very long time, they can have non-verbal communication. So this is also, in a way, non-verbal communication which is taking place. And between the friends, very close friends, between the mother and father, mother and children, daughter and mother, son and mother, father and mother, father and daughter. So these kind of relations are there where, so they why I'm saying them is because they are indicative of certain things. They are indicative of the necessary condition where this kind of transmission of thoughts can take place. But we will be able to understand it in a better way. So that's why these examples I am giving, that between two persons who are very closely connected, they can also have this kind of communication where person is able to read the mind of the other person. So I'll just read that passage and then we will be able to go further. So what the commentary says, by practicing Sanyama on notions, knowledge of other minds is obtained. By practicing Sanyama on the notions and thus realizing them, knowledge of other minds can be acquired. Notions here are referring to the notions prevailing in one's own mind as well as in the other mind. Unless an idea in one's own mind can be isolated and perceived, how can the idea of another mind be realized? First, realizing one's own idea, the mind has to be made vacant for the reception of the idea prevalent in other mind, and then effort should be made to realize that. We come across many thought readers, but they have not always acquired the power through yoga. instances are there, particularly where the research has been done. In parapsychology, a lot of research is done, particularly, when the Cold War was going on between Russia and USA. That time, most of the biologists, psychologists, scientists, parascientists, they were studying these phenomena. So, very famous book came, it was published. So that book is known as, that the book is titled as Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. What is the Iron Curtain? Iron Curtain is the Russian, research. So Russia was known as Iron Curtain because nothing was visible from outside. It was all secret. That's why it was known as Iron Curtain. Then there are certain books by biologists. Very famous biologist is there. I think he's American. His name is Leal Watson. So Leal Watson has written a book. The name of the book is Supernature. That's, I think, that if I remember correctly, Supernature. So there you will find all these kind of researches which have been done, which indicates that there is a real possibility of telepathy, thought reading, mind reading, and so many other things, so many wonderful things. So this Lyle Watson, he himself is a biologist. He is a man of science. So what he does, he says where the science stops, the parascience begins. The work of a biologist begins. There they try to understand, the science can explain certain phenomena, but there are certain phenomena science cannot explain because those phenomena cannot be explained, cannot be proved in laboratory, but they do exist. So that is what they have said. So these are some of the references one can, if one is interested. Why I'm mentioning, if you are interested, you can just go through these kind of publications and you will find what is being talked about. So not every thought reader, there are many thought readers. One of the very famous person, I think Uri Geller, you might have heard of him a few years back, maybe 20-25 years. He used to do this mental kinesis through the mind power. He will twist the objects, he will bend the objects. Those kind of things were very popular. So like that, so many thought readers are there, and we come across them, their reports. But not everybody has acquired that power through yoga. Here we are talking about, sometimes they are born with certain qualities. For example, Shakuntala Devi. Shakuntala Devi has got a great power of calculation. So she does the calculation. But if you ask her, how do you do it? She'll not be able to explain why she is doing it, how she is doing it. She knows that she has the ability. So she uses that ability and she performs. But otherwise, it is difficult to really describe how it is happening. So now, not every kind of superpower which people have, maybe because of yoga, but here we are talking about something which is developed, which is inculcated by yogi through practice. In yoga, nothing is automatic, nothing is happening involuntary. Everything in yoga is voluntary. This much we have to understand. So when yogi acquires siddhi, it is by the voluntary work which he has done. Suppose if he has acquired some power by birth, in chapter 4, very first sutra says, Janma Aushadhi Mantra Tapa Samadhi Ja Siddhaya. Siddhis can be attained, supernormal powers can be attained by 5 means. One may be born with it, one may get it through mantras, one may get it through drugs and medicines, one may get it through tapa, by austerities. There are several, we can go on and on. How these siddhis are there. When the sutra comes, we'll discuss about it. But then yogis' siddhis are always because of the conscious work, voluntary work. Suppose yogi is born with a certain power, then that will not be considered to be a yogic siddhi. Very clearly, it will not be a yogic siddhi. He is born with it. So he has not worked for it. So here the conscious and voluntary work is very, very important. So it says that it may not be through the power of yoga. Many of them are born with that power, keeping in view the person whose thought is to be read. The reader's mind has to be made vacant, and when other thoughts arise therein, they are the thoughts of the other person. Thought reader cannot say how the thought is transferred, but they just feel that the thoughts are not their own. Some can read other people's thoughts without any effort when the other person is in the process of thinking of something. Anything previously felt but since forgotten may also be sometimes known by the thought reader. So this is the passage which is available as a comment on the sutra. Now let us try to understand. See, one, we have to understand our mind basically has got tremendous power. Anything in the universe can be understood by our mind. Anything. That much power our mind has. Why? Because if you look at the scheme of development, mind is made up of sattva. Chitta is made up of sattva, cognitive part. How do we know? No, now I am talking to you. Every word of mine is being understood by you because it is being illuminated by the mental power, and you are getting the meaning of each and every word I am speaking. So that power mind has got. And this sattva, wherever we will keep that sattva, sattva will absorb the knowledge. It will acquire the knowledge. That is the capacity of the mind. So imagine, it's a big receiver and it is also sending all the time. The signals are there, busy activity is there. So if we can calm down this mind completely, then only why we are not able to calm down? If I ask you, okay, sit for 10 minutes in meditation and don't think of anything else. Now you are listening to me, you are relatively calm, relatively very quiet. Mind is very stable. But suppose if I ask you to sit 10 minutes in meditation, then you will find suddenly the mental activity increases. When you are trying to calm down the mind, that is the time mind becomes more active. So because conscious will is being used and we try to put effort. Now, yogi has been trying this and he is expert. So he can reduce all his vrittis, all his thoughts are reduced to a considerable level. So the sattva becomes very predominant, and that sattva can really absorb all the knowledge. So whatever will be around, it will be known. Merely, I don't know how many of you are aware. If you have heard of Zen system of meditation, there in Japan, they do this meditation on the stones also. So contemplation on the stone, feeling the stone, knowing the stone completely, continuously perceiving that stone. And then through that, some higher knowledge is acquired. Why it is happening? Because all the extraneous thoughts are shut down and mind is totally focused on only one object. And precisely that is what is the definition of samadhi also. Tadeva artha matra nirvasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. So when mind becomes one with the object, all the secrets of that object will be known to the mind. Mind doesn't have to go out and do anything. Mind can just absorb it. So that is the kind of state mind goes into, and that is what is recommended in the passage which I read to you just now. So mind is calmed down completely, and as a result, the other minds, what they are thinking, their thoughts may be received by this mind. That is the contention. So it may appear little, far-fetched, or it may appear little tricky. But then that is now let us imagine, for example, but before going further, the word pratyay has to be understood. Pratyayasya parichitta jnana. What is pratyay? What is pratyay? Pratyay is the content of mind at a given moment. This is what is vritti also. This also can be translated as thought. So right now, at this given moment, whatever is the content of mind we have, you may have a certain content of mind, I may have a certain content of mind. And all these contents, because this mind is thinking, so they are clashing with each other and there is no possibility of connecting to each other and understanding each other. That possibility is not there. But suppose if we don't have any content, no thoughts are there. Nothing is occupying our mind. The mind has become perfectly calm. then it is possible to acquire this kind of knowledge. So it can be compared to, as I told you, a radio. A radio set is there. So our minds, all the minds are working at a different frequency because of the concerns we have, because of the worries we have. Conscious mind is continuously bombarded with so many stimuli. Right now, also in the class, we are attending the class, but we have to ask ourselves, are we 100% there? There might be concern that after the class, I have to go for dinner, I have to meet someone. So if such kind of concerns are there, they are also occupying the mind all the time. So it is not that we are, continuously focused. So what the suggestion is given here is that one has to learn to isolate one thought. One has to learn to isolate one pratyay. Are we able to do it? So if we can isolate one pratyay in our own mind, so what that would mean, that we are focusing only on one idea which is occupying mind. There's nothing else. So whatever object we have selected, only that thought or that object is there. Nothing else is there. First, that capacity has to be acquired. So once that pratyay has been mastered, one's own mastery is gained on the own mind, then it is possible to have this kind of knowledge from the other mind. So here when Sutra is saying that one has to do sanyama on pratyay, it is not only the pratyay of the other person, but it is the pratyay of the one's own mind also. So when this ability is acquired, then perhaps a yogi is just sitting quietly and he has to just look at the person whose mind he wants to read, or he may just feel his presence, and then his mind is empty, and suddenly it may happen that some thought may arise in his mind. So when that thought arises in his mind, he understands that this is not the thought he has created. It is not his thought. It has come from some extraneous source. So that is the kind of experience which is now this identifying one pratyay, separating one pratyay is very difficult. Imagine you are standing in the balcony of a big building on maybe 20th floor, 21st floor. You are standing and you are looking down and you see thousands of vehicles passing each other. It's a big road which is there and heavy traffic is there, and cars and big vehicles, all sorts of vehicles are moving in both the direction. Now out of that you have to identify one small car. These cars of different colors. So blue, red, yellow, green, gray, white, so many cars are there. Now you have to select maybe one gray car. So how many gray cars are there? Out of that, how to identify that one gray car standing at the floor, 20th floor? No, it is like that. Working on our mind is like that. How difficult it is, just imagine. You are standing at a tall building and you are trying to identify a car among the thousands of cars which are moving. So out of that, how you will select yours? Same way, our minds are continuously having this traffic. Our minds are bombarded. Our minds are continuously working. So there's a traffic going on. We are receiving the data, sending the data, receiving the data. Now all that has to stop. And then identifying one pratyay, one idea, that one notion which is there, that has to be kept in mind. When this practice is done, then gradually it may happen that one is able to read the mind of the other person. And the last statement which was given, even the some experience or some idea or some thought which was earlier, which must have taken earlier and is forgotten, even that kind of thought can be known by the yogi. So remember, I had given you one example of Dr. Jaydev, where one of the additional commissioners from my department, I had taken him to Yoga Institute because he was facing some problems. So because I had taken him, so they permitted him to see Dr. Jaydev, because lots of people used to come every Saturday, more than 50, 60, 70 people will visit. Very complicated kind of cases will be seen by Dr. Jaydev himself, and he will write suggestions that what they should do. So this additional commissioner was made to see Dr. Jaydev, and he sat with Dr. Jaydev for a few minutes. And then this happened on Saturday. And the next Monday, he called me and he said, "Who's this gentleman whom I saw, whom I met on Saturday? He's a great person." And, he praised a lot. So he told that Dr. Jaydev was able to tell him about something which nobody else knew. Nobody had any idea. But something which only he knew, that was talked about Dr. Jaydev, he came to know. So we wonder sometimes, we used to often talk about this kind of instance. And this happened because the person told me that this is what he experienced. There is a real thing which has happened. Now, how did Dr. Jaydev come to know what was bothering this person? What was his concern? What was his problem? How did Dr. Jaydev come to know? This was one case I had reported to you. The other thing I had told you that in my personal case, I had heart problem in 2012, but doctor had detected my heart problem in somewhere to 1995-96, because 1995-96 he had sent me to a cardiologist to get myself checked. So he knew that I am going to have this kind of problem. So now both things are connected, because when we are talking about this pratyay, you see, very important thing before we forget about it. Nowadays, there is specialized group of people in all the countries who are specialized in thought reading, who are specialized in body language. So they are specialized in non-verbal communication. Most of the secret service agencies, they are employing these kind of people. So they are just, when the two political leaders are meeting, they are just sitting and observing them. And in their observation, they are able to decipher everything the opposite politician is thinking or processing in his mind. They are able to predict it. So there is not only the training of the mind, but there is also some kind of physiological basis to it. So Dr. Jaydev, how this thought reading takes place? Dr. Jaydev is of the opinion that there is a physiological impulses which are working. Now, whenever some impulse arises in the body, some change is taking place, and the change will be very subtle. It could be a little shift in the eye. It could be a twitching. It could be a lip movement. It could be a just neck movement. It could be a finger movement. Now, this is a very, very tricky kind of thing. And these people are trained to understand the cues of this kind. The subtle impulses they are able to check. And based on that impulse, right now, Modi ji is meeting Chinese premier. He met yesterday. So now, there will be experts who will be watching. Not there, but all over the world, from the TV cameras, they will be watching the body language, and they will know what is going on in the mind of each of the political leaders. This is a profession which is highly now specialized. So all this happening based on the cues. So Dr. Jaydev says that this pratyasya, in pratyay also the change is taking place because of the impulses. Through the impulses only the thought arises. Whenever we are thinking something, you will find that there is a physiological connection there. So, or maybe when we think a particular thought, it is translated into some kind of physical impulse. So if you can catch hold of that physical impulse, then also you can come to know about the content of the other person's mind. So it happens. Some people are very smart. So nothing escapes them. A little movement in the body, and they know what is going on in your head. So that is also a kind of pratyasya parichita jnanam. So there is a complete physiological basis for that. Now these are the ideas. We have to just wonder at the siddhis which Patanjali, because we often think since our childhood, how many times we might have thought, oh, I wish I could understand what is going on in that person's mind. We all have experienced that. We all have wished for it. Yeah, now we might have forgotten it because now we are too old, or maybe we are too engaged in other things. But it has been a very great wish of ours that I wish I can understand other person's mind. What is going on in his mind? I wish I could understand that. This has happened. And this happens, we have the capacity, but we have not developed it. Some people have developed this capacity, they have mastered it in the form of science, but it has got its practical use also in the field of yoga, because many times certain content of the mind of guru is transferred to the mind of disciple without uttering the words, without verbal communication. Non-verbal communications are taking place, and you will be surprised that whatever we are communicating with each other, out of that only 30 to 35% is only through the verbal communication. Rest of it, more than 65-75% is non-verbal communication between us. I don't know about the camera right now, but if physically we are in front of each other, you will find that more than 70% of our communication is from the physical cues, from the physical signals, from the impulses. This is a fact. You can research, you can just put google करेंगे आप, you can put in the Google non-verbal communication body language and see how this non-verbal communication, so people can read you like there's a book also, how to read a person like a book. It's on body language. This book is on body language, how to read a person like a book. So the person's mind can be read like a book. These possibilities are there. So same kind of siddhi has been talked about here. So scientifically, I understand it this way, that our minds are very powerful receivers and powerful transmitters. If we wish to transmit something very strongly, very urgently, very earnestly, it gets transferred. If we are concerned about some person, if we are worried about some person, we are too connected with that person, what person is going through, it comes to our mind. We know that what is going on. So these kind of instances are there. So many recorded instances, and it happens between close husband, wife, brothers, sisters, siblings. It happens between two good friends. So whatever somebody is thinking, we come to know about it. Only thing is, we have our reception has to be good. So the idea is that make your receivers pure, purify your receivers, calm down your mind, stop the traffic, and be in a receptive mood. If we are in receptive mood, we will be able to receive a lot of knowledge from others' mind also. That is the idea. Little complicated. I try to simplify it, but if there are questions.
I just wanted to add, if I may, can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear.
That, I was reminded of dogs also. I have a dog, and that communication is nonverbal, right? Much of it is nonverbal. Yes. And there are many instances where my dog has outsmarted me. Just because, dogs, they identify so many points in the human face much better than humans can, right? So he always knows when I'm serious. Many times we've been on the beach and I said, Bruno, I'm leaving you here, when he didn't want to go. And he just looks at me. He says, I know you're joking. And only when I'm actually serious, that is when he gets up and comes, because there's something in my face, in my voice, that he knows now she is serious, right? So there's really no siddhi about it. It's just a perception and being very good at computing the information that comes.
Very true, very true, very true.
Yeah, just I was reminded of that, so I just wanted to add that.
When we are mocking, they know we are mocking. When we are joking, they know we are joking. They are able to understand, because they are so receptive and they are so connected. They are able to understand. Unfortunately, we can't do that. We are too preoccupied. Our conscious minds are continuously bombarded. We are too preoccupied all the time. We are, forget about understanding other mind. We are not even ready to listen to the other person. Half the time we are not listening what they are saying. We are so preoccupied. How we can know the other person? Understanding is very important. We fail to understand what people are trying to say most of the time.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, quickly, because it may shut down now. Yeah.
So 2 questions. One was, what do we do with a sharpened receptivity? What do we do with that excess knowledge, especially from the masses, not from teachers like you and gurus and noble souls where there's amazing wisdom coming from. But otherwise, the second connected question is that over a period of my sadhana, I've become very, very sensitive to energies. And I pick up unnecessarily emotions, energies, and I have to process it. I have to detoxify myself every single day. And therefore, I don't go in big crowds and just avoid meeting too many new people. So these are the two connected things. How do I manage and
Yeah.
how do I control?
Primarily, one has to come out of I and my, I and mine. Because most of the time we are occupied, मेरा क्या होगा, मुझे क्या मिलेगा, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, I'm feeling this. Continuously we are, continuously holding this I sense very strongly. In the sense of the body consciousness also and the mind consciousness also. If we can drop that, we can drop this I sense, then our receptors will be much sharper and we'll be able to receive much better. And as far as the energy sensitivity is a different thing, but here we are talking about, communication between two minds. So energy affects everywhere. There is energy and we are getting affected. As soon as we come in some sunlight, we feel bright, and because the sun's energy directly affects us. When there is a bright moon, full moon, our energies are affected, our bodies are affected. So body as a receiver at that time is function. Here we are talking about, particular kind of knowledge which one can acquire from other person's mind.
Okay.
But I sense is very important. If we can, ये जो देह बुद्धि जो है या मैं, if we can drop this I and mine, then perhaps we can calm down the mind to a certain extent where we can understand much better. We can have deeper understanding and correct understanding. Otherwise we are हम लोग तो अपने बच्चों की बात भी नहीं सुनते. Before they finish, we have judged them already. We have concluded. So most of the time we are not open-minded. We are very imposing. This imposition will never allow us to gain knowledge.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Is this sutra similar to Chittanupasana?
No. No. There it is mindfulness. Here it is different thing. There is
So when we talk about,
yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
When we talk about the gut feeling or a sixth sense, when we talk about intuition, is that a different thing, or is it with the sutra what we are trying to?
They all are falling under the category of ESP, extrasensory perception. Extrasensory perception is of many kinds. This is one of them, and that is another of them.